When I say the word prepping, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? A crazy backwoods hillbilly? What about bug out bag? A conspiracy theorist? Comment below what you think about prepping both before and after watching this video, and let me know if I changed your perspective at all. What if I told you that not only do you have the completely wrong idea about prepping, but because of those preconceptions, you're completely unprepared for a disaster if it does happen? Most of us have had the wrong idea for decades. Now, I'm not saying you have to prep for the end of the world, but you should be prepared for a disaster if it hits. So let's change that. How many times do you turn on the news and see earthquakes, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, blizzards, fires? Riots and terrorist attacks do happen. Supply shortages during the pandemic were a major pain point for a lot of people, especially since at that point, we had no idea how long it would last. Of course, you can prepare for nuclear fallout or EMPs or invading armies if you think it's necessary, and some people do. But what if your town gets flooded out for a couple weeks? Could you survive if FEMA didn't show up and you were completely cut off from emergency services? That was the reality for a lot of people after Hurricane Helene hit North Carolina last year. And the beginning of normalcy took 3 weeks to restore, and actual normalcy took much longer. What if you woke up to the sound of the emergency broadcast system at 3 a.m. and saw an orange glow coming through your curtains from outside? Could you leave your home in 3 minutes or less with enough supplies and your family to not starve for a few days? This is the reality for thousands of people each and every year. Many end up being permanently displaced, and some, unfortunately, don't make it out at all. Wouldn't you want to give yourself the best chance possible to not be a statistic? What if the power goes out for a few days? Sometimes weather happens. Are you ready for it? The reality is that most preppers prep for the worst case scenario that could happen in their area. It's not conspiracy, it's not crazy, and it's time to get that stigma out of your head, because the next time a tornado hits, it really could be the difference in your survival. So what should prepping mean to you? You're really the only one that can answer that, as you're the only one that can decide what your own personal acceptable level of risk is. But I highly suggest at least being prepared for natural disasters if the area you live in is prone to them. And no matter the prep, always remember the rules of 3. 3 minutes without air, 3 hours without shelter, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Those are your survival times. So whatever your prep, you should always prioritize in that way. It may not feel good to be hungry, but you can survive for weeks without eating a single thing. Without water for 3 days, though, your kidneys start shutting down, your brain swells, and you will die, hallucinating and in excruciating pain. Priorities. For hurricane, flood, or wildfire areas, have a go bag or some sort of kit ready, something you keep either in the car or close to an exit, garage, coat closet, something like that, that has enough supplies for you and your family to survive for 3 days with no outside intervention. If it's just you, a bag is plenty. If it's your whole family, maybe a small tote, or each person gets their own bag. In it, you'll have things like, and this is by no means an exhaustive list, feel free to go look up go bags for more ideas, but things like water, something to make more drinkable water like a Life Straw or chlorine tablets, food, spare clothes, toiletries, first aid supplies, and maybe something to help the kids feel more comfortable with the whole situation if you have any stuffed animals or something. Don't mistake this for a doomsday soldier-style survival pack bug-out bag with enough supplies to raid a small village. First, that's not the purpose of this type of bugging out. And second, be honest, you wouldn't know what to do with most of that stuff anyway. The purpose of this pack or tote is to get you out of your house in under 3 minutes with bare minimum survival essentials and onto the road without having to stop until you get to wherever it is that your evacuation location might be. It also accounts for extra provisions in case of breakdown along the way or, worst case scenario, gridlock. Though if it's bad enough that the traffic is completely stopped and you're in it, you've already failed an earlier stage of your prep. We'll get back to that in a minute. What about if you live in an area prone to tornadoes or severe winter weather? Well, having a go bag is still a good idea, but your first line of defense in these situations is just don't leave the house to begin with. You're much safer indoors. Have all the same stuff that I mentioned earlier, but have more of it, because you're in your home, you're not limited to a small pack. Have a few weeks worth of food and water on hand, stored in a basement or interior closet. Be prepared to make more water if necessary. Make sure your food has a long shelf life and can be eaten without a way to heat it. Have flashlights and power packs or batteries, a generator for crucial items like a fridge, or for lighter duty, a solar generator for keeping your electronics charged. And these are really cool pieces of tech, by the way, and I recommend everyone have one regardless. They're good to have for any number of uses. Starlink Mini is another great investment too. If you're expecting things to get really bad, it can provide emergency internet to keep you communicating with people even if cell towers go down, and even be run off of a small power pack in a pinch. Of course, the level and cost of the prep you want to commit to is completely up to you. These are just some ideas. But what about other forms of prepping? A minute ago I mentioned that you failed an earlier stage of prep. What did I mean? You followed Google Maps to leave town, thinking you'd be the only one to do that, and you were wrong. If you don't already, get to know your area well enough to know multiple escape routes out of town in order to avoid gridlock. Have at least 3 routes memorized to get you out of your city at a minimum. Get paper maps of your county and state just in case GPS navigation fails, and take the time to learn how to read them. Think ahead so you're not caught in 6 lanes of traffic with every other panicked animal trying to escape. And it's always a good idea to make sure you at least have a quarter tank of gas in your car, though half is better. And I like keeping a get-home bag in my car too, because there's just as good a chance of something happening while you're at work or in town at the store as there is when you're home. It can also help if you ever experience a breakdown in the dead of night or in winter, or in my case, if I break down while off-roading somewhere without cell service, I might have to hike out for miles before I get any. And the theory behind this pack is simple. Figure out the farthest you're generally away from home and how long it would take you to walk that distance back, and pack enough lightweight supplies to get you back there. And it should be made to meet the conditions that you might face during your personal trek. A rural bag is going to look a lot different from an urban pack. And do your best not to overpack it. If you can't carry the thing with you for your entire walk home, then it's useless to you. As an example, my personal bag has 1 day's worth of supplies and weighs 13 pounds. If conditions get worse, I also designed it to be able to stretch and ration out to 3 days. And I get it, this is a lot to take in. Starting to prep as somebody who's not a prepper can be confusing and overwhelming, and you might feel embarrassed, and this is just an introduction. It's hard to get into the mindset that's just never been on your radar, because before now you made fun of it along with everyone else. But you found this video for a reason. Something happened in your life, or you look at world events and it opened you up to the idea, or the algorithm determined that you needed a push in that direction based on your patterns and searches, even if you didn't realize it for yourself yet. And the good news is that there are tons of resources out there to give you more ideas and to help you, and that it's not too late to start. Just go slow. Something I don't think that's said enough about prepping is that it's more about planning than stuff. Stuff is an important part of it, but without planning it means nothing. Just take your time, think and plan, and only get what you actually need, not a bunch of useless stuff that's going to fill your 3rd bedroom and never actually do any good. And never let anyone outside of the people who live in your house know that you do have plans and preparations. Secrecy is your biggest defense against thieves and looters should something happen. With all that said, I think the most important part of this whole thing is that you understand that it's just a plan B. Most likely you'll never need to implement or use any of it. So don't get so caught up preparing for the unknown that you forget to live your life in the process. The point of this is not for it to become your identity, but do yourself a favor and just do something. Anything is going to be better than the state you're currently in, which is completely dependent on the grocery store or Uber Eats for your next meal. Come tornadoes or high water, those won't be an option. And thanks so much for hanging out today. I really do appreciate it, and hope this video did some good for you. Please do me a favor, hit the like and subscribe buttons, and don't forget to go back up and make your comment. It really does mean the world to me, and lets the algorithm know that this video is worth the next person's attention. Until next time, take care.